All right, guys, story time on this beautiful ride home. This story goes back probably 20, 30 years. Me and old Joe was out one night, and he had bought this big old mid-70s Oldsmobile, big old lead sled. This thing was, man, it was a big car. And you ain't never driven in one of some of them cars, man. Them cars were fun to cut donuts in, drift in them. Well, we didn't use the word drift then. I don't think the word drift even was invented then. We just gave them cars hell and would slide them cars around curves and in ditches. And man, had an absolute ball in them big old cars. If you ain't never cut a donut or drifted in a big old lead sled car, you are missing out. Anyway, me and Joe out one night. I think there's several of us in that car, and out raising hell, an old motor starts knocking. We pull over, and I think Joe bought that car for the motor, but I don't remember. Old motor's knocking. We jump back in and tear out, and we go on down through them roads, and them gravel roads out there. Man, we had a ball. Old motor, man, about to let loose. We pull over. There's a trail of oil going down the road. I said, this old motor done. Joe said, F it. He jumped back in. We struck out again. Got to go down there. The motor locked up. We pulled over on the side of the road. There was oil everywhere. And somehow we got a hold of somebody that brought a Steve Osborne's old Ford F-150 with them co-op grit spurs and straight pipes. They brought that old Ford truck out there, and old Joe, I kind of got nominated to drive that Oldsmobile back to the house. We was probably 7-8 miles from his house. So old Joe, he pulled that old Ford up in front of me, and that same dang chain that he pulled Dennis out of the creek with, he took that chain and hooked to the back of that Ford and hooked to the frame. And I bet that chain, man, was 20, 30 feet long. It was forever long. Big old chain. He hooked to the front of that Oldsmobile, and old Joe's like, follow me, like I had a choice, right? So old Joe takes off, man, and this is a back country roads, Burwood, Thompson Station back country roads, and we are going down through there, man, and Joe is probably running 50, 60 mile an hour, and here I am, chained to him, going down them back country roads, and I ain't got many options. I'm chained to him. I had to follow him. I had no power steering, no power brakes, very little headlights, and he's strolling down these roads, and I'm borderline scared. I mean, I'm young, man, and we are flying down these roads. Well, we come around this S-curve right before the railroad tracks. The old chain comes off that Oldsmobile, thank God. And I come to a stop in the road. Joe backs up. He gets out laughing his butt off. I don't know if Dennis or Bobby's with us. I can't remember. And we get out. And I told Joe, I said, hey, man, you got to slow down, man. Like, it was rough. Driving no power steering, no power brakes. Can't see where I'm going. Hell, Joe didn't care. He laughed his butt off. And so Joe said, pop the hood. So I popped the hood, and Joe took a chain, just dropped it down in front of the radiator, and went underneath the car and grabbed that chain and hooked it back to itself. And then he slams the hood on the chain. So he's like, let's go. We're less than a mile from his house. About half a mile, 3/4 of a mile in front of us is the railroad tracks. And these railroad tracks, if you hit them hard, you'll jump them. But if you hit them too hard, you're going to land in somebody's front yard. And as soon as you go across them, it turns hard left. And so old Joe don't care. Hell, we're young, man. Old Joe jumps in that truck, takes off, snatches the absolute hell out of me. So I'm thinking to myself, well, I only got like half a mile, 3/4 of a mile to go before we get to where we're going. So I am like, okay, so I'm in for a ride for a minute. So Joe, man, he's got that old Ford truck strolling, straight pipes just cackling. He hits them railroad tracks as fast as he possibly can. Well, as soon as he hits them railroad tracks, he's got to turn left. So he hits and turns left. Well, he right before he hits the railroad tracks, he's got to get on the brakes because there's just a sharp curve. Well, it puts a lot of slack in this chain that's pulling me, and I about rear-end him, but I ain't got no brakes. So I'm like standing on these brakes trying to stop that Oldsmobile, and I'm running up on the back of that Ford truck. And by the time all that happens, we crest over those railroad tracks. Well, as soon as we crest over the railroad tracks, I hear them cackle pipes. Joe floors it. And we're probably running 30, 40 mile an hour. And I'm in a car, no power steering, no power brakes, almost can't see shit. And as soon as we crest on the railroad tracks, I felt the back end of that Oldsmobile start coming around. And I'm like, oh, God. Man, I remember thinking maybe the chain had come undone again. And I start spinning around almost a 180. And I hear that straight pipes cackling on that Ford. And I'm almost facing the ditch. I'm almost doing a 180. And that chain, the slack in that chain tightens up because Joe's headed that way. And I am facing the other way. And the slack comes out of that chain. And when it does, if you've ever been in the fair and been on one of them rides where it snatches you around the other direction real fast, that's what it was like. But I'm in a 5,000-pound sled. It snatched that old Oldsmobile, and when it snatched it, I remember just going whoa back to the direction, and all of a sudden I heard this loud whoom, and all of a sudden I rolled to a stop, and I'm like thinking, what just happened? You know, 'cause I can't see nothing, and I hear them old straight pipes. I hear Joe backing up. I hear a chain on the road, and I hear Joe laughing. I'm trying to get out of the car. I take my seatbelt off. I never wore my seatbelt. We had to in this situation. So I get out of the car. I'm in the middle of this road, WO line, in a big Oldsmobile. Joe's backing up to me. Joe gets out laughing. I'm looking. There's something in the road. He snatched the entire front end, the whole front assembly of that car off. When it snatched when I went across the railroad tracks. Headlights, radiator support, the heater, the AC compressor, AC, everything was laying in the road with a chain still wrapped around it. We looked back at that Oldsmobile and you see nothing. It was just, it looked like somebody took the whole front end off the car. Front fenders were still there, but everything else was gone. Hood was still there, but everything else was gone, no front end. And I remember thinking, man, we got to get this car out of the road, like, quick. And Joe is rolling laughing. I'm laughing. Whoever else, we're just rolling laughing. And we grabbed that front end and throw it in back of Joe's truck. We hooked the chain back to the car somehow. And when he don't pull it literally 60 to 80 feet, and we're in his driveway because it happened right there in front of his house. And we put in his driveway, and that thing sat there for a minute. And I think old Steve ended up scrapping that old car. It weighed a ton, but ended up scrapping that old car. But I'll never forget that. And I know Joe will never forget that either. But Joe wasn't in that Oldsmobile. I was. And I'll never forget going across some railroad tracks and the feeling of that car going the wrong direction, just knowing that that slack in that chain is about to come out. And when it did, Lordy have mercy. It was crazy. It was crazy, but I'll never forget it. So, and Joe, man, we could tell some stories, man. We could. Good old days, man. But, all right, guys, as always, I appreciate your like, follow, share, comment, constructive criticism. I really appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a good one.